From the race start, Evans slots into second. Dominic Story into third.
Tell you what, Jack Perkins made some pretty big contact there at the start, and I think Steve Owen's given it back to him.
On board with Evans, slots into second behind Angus Fogg. Steve Owen down the inside. There's a guardrail. There's some smoke on the left side of the Moore Slade number 10.
Here comes Perkins again up the inside of Owen. This is a battle, and it's not. They're all off.
Yeah, Perkins is off. The Moore Slade entry's off.
Nearly a contact with the Story car.
As it came back across the grass, and it's still pretty wet off the circuit. Still smoke from the left-hand side of the number 10, back in 5th position.
Well, that started at turn number 1, and Owen gave it back at turn 3. So, bit of hot-headed stuff to start race number 3.
Yeah, well, it's Tim Slade in the Moore machine. He went straight through at the S's. Perkins, that was so close. It was Dominic Story he was going to get into that just missed him.
That was so close.
And here's the Varney weight machine down the inside of Perkins. Down into turn number 1. Andrew Waite starting that car. Simply leasing 14 as Perkins assaults the curbs. I'd say just about the whole front end of the car was up in the air off that one. On board with Perkins. First two have got away from the chasing group. Fogg leads from Evans. Story, Owen. Back on board with Perkins. Andrew Waite just up ahead. This time gets it turned in nicely.
He is all over the back of the number 15 car. Shay Davies at the wheel. Here he goes. Looking close.
Green light in the window means the co-drivers in the car. Only 4 main drivers have started this final race.
Cameron Waters sniffing a position or two here behind the Perkins car. Rain dots appearing.
Just very, very light. It's certainly threatening here at Pukekohe. Perkins with a big run up over the top of the hill. Identical lap times for the first two in the 5.4s. And already they've got 3 seconds over the next best. Shay Davies got a big lineup of cars in behind him.
Yeah, he's struggling with that number 15 car. Something coming out of that car as well.
Just be overfull with the fuel maybe. There was certainly venting something onto the back straight from the rear of the car. You're right there, Drake.
Yeah, I saw it coming over the hill. Wasn't quite sure whether it was just a bit of water. Let's see how slippery this track is and who catches out. Oh, Perkins.
Big sideways moment there for Perkins. Cam Waters right in behind him. So they were able to change the gearbox. As Simon Evans thought about having a go there on Angus Fogg. Yeah, maybe not. I think for Evans and Van Gisbergen, they don't need to do anything silly. They don't need to force the situation. They've got a big enough lead in the endurance portion of the championship. Tell you what, they're going to get hunted down by Steve Owen, who was a second quicker than both of them on that previous lap. On board with Evans.
A bit sort of pioneers here as well, these guys, because that little sprinkles of rain around the track, you just don't know what's ahead of you. And Angus is going to be the first one to find out if it continues.
As I said, if they're not careful, they're going to have their hands full with Steve Owen very, very shortly, because Owen was quicker. Foggy ran that in very, very deep. There's the gap back to Owen, who is closing and closing fast. Train goes past in the other direction. Don't see that side of too many racetracks around the world. Just watch the wheel input here through the hardest part of the racetrack other than turn 1. Likewise, Jack Perkins still in behind Andrew Waite.
Yeah, this battle's brewing, Jamie. You can just sense a bit of urgency. Waitey's still stuck behind that number 1 car. And that's simply leasing Falcon. It's looking real good.
Yeah, they've been working with the car throughout the weekend. They had a gearbox issue that saw them not start race number 1. Looking very, very good here in the early laps. Cam Waters, likewise, is monstering the back of Perkins, who's got his hands full as well. Waters with John McIntyre tucked up underneath his rear wing. Then it's Aaron Russell and Chris Hanley. Waters shows his nose to Perkins.
Gives the number 1 a bit of a rub there.
6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th.
This is brewing.
Again, Evans going to try and get around Foggy. No, that's not going to happen there. I think Foggy might be pretty hard to go by here.
He's obviously not getting good drive out of the Hankook hairpin.
Well, we saw that with the Evans Van Gisbergen car in race 2. They had very good drive down compared to Heimgartner and Russell. 6-3 for Foggy, 6-1 for Evans, a 5-3 for Owen. Owen is closing and closing fast. Evans down the inside, little bit of contact.
He's just got to take his time.
Guys, talk about taking time. Greg Murphy, car number 1, is actually in pit lane. Looks like they're going to get the refuelling done out of the way nice and early. And Angus Logg's team's been cleared of working on the car in pit lane, on the dummy grid, so no penalty there.
Thanks for that, Mark. Yeah, a moment there between Evans and Foggy. As I said, the Evans team cannot afford to have anything silly happen.
Driving behaviour, black and white flag for car.
As the fuel goes in, very slow to get that car spiked up on the jacks. Whoa, we're going to change for second,
yeah,
and that had to happen.
Steve Owen has got big pace on here. Simon just needs to settle down, gather it back up. Folded the left-hand mirror back, but it's actually popped back out, so that'll help him. He drops back to 3rd. Series leader, Foggy, your race leader.
And just to add fuel to the fire, Jack Perkins comes out right in front of this group. And there goes Angus. This is important for Angus to get down there.
Right in the middle of the leaders. Owen tucked his nose down there. There's contact. Steve Owen and Jack Perkins.
I'll tell you what, these guys are playing for keeps in this race 3, aren't they?
Well, the elbows are up, aren't they? Well and truly. And a guard rub on the left front for the Owen Chester's Holden. I think Evans has managed to get back around him. No, he hasn't. Owen's got the inside line to the BNTSs. So this lap traffic is Jack Perkins deciding to pit early.
And Stories come into this as well. There's Evans. He's got big move. Nice move.
Bit of a donut on the left-hand door as Owen gives him a touch-up out of the hairpin. So Foggy's got a little bit of a break here. Flying the ointment is Jack Perkins. He took himself out of the queue, got their fuel stop out of the way. So here's the replay. Evans down the inside.
Oh, well, that was
Owen around the outside.
So he must have got a great run out of goal corner onto the back straight.
Well, Evans has got him back since then. Steve Owen's now got Dominic Story not too far behind him as well.
Chester's car still puffing a bit of smoke, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Yeah, just the left front guard, maybe the back edge of the splitter on that left-hand side after that contact with Perkins.
Yeah, it's doing it under sort of high downforce. By the look of it, you can see it, yeah, just out of joint there, the guard splitter.
So Foggy, your race leader, the lapped Jack Perkins in between he and the second place Simon Evans. Evans and Foggy have already had a little bit of a set two together. Likewise Owen and Perkins, as Perkins rejoined after their fuel stop on lap 7. Pit window for the compulsory driver changes from lap 32 to 38. Going into this race, the Evans Van Gisbergen Holden with a 130-point lead over Slade and Moore, who are currently 5th.
They changed some shock absorbers on the #1 car between races 2 and 3. This is Paul Mallard, team manager for the Edgell team, and they just weren't happy with the car, so a precautionary change.
Just looking at the lap times, Fogg a 5.9. Evans has picked up the pace with a 5.3. Pit stop here for John McIntyre. 3rd of the cars to stop. We believe that the number 27 Hanley Rollinson Ford stopped as well for fuel.
Yeah, correct, guys. The 27 car has been in. And also the Johnny Mack car, that was 10.7 seconds. What's interesting now is these guys are bringing the cars in early when it could be a little bit of uncertainty about the weather. I thought they would have raided a little bit later on to see it was going to rain and do the fuel and then do the tyre change.
It's a pretty quick stop for McIntyre, and he's going to pull out ahead of the race leader here. So again, just the interest with the lap traffic in amongst the leaders very, very early on in this race.
Black and white flag, driver conduct, car 15 for blocking at turn 8, car 15.
It's Shay Davies and the Oryx Commodore. Warning for blocking. It looked like the left rear of the bumper maybe on the Slade Moore car was hanging off the back of the car coming down the back straight. It's a big queue of cars here and a couple of them are out of sequence having taken their fuel stops. Little lock up there from Foggy.
Yeah, it's a bit messy, isn't it? I mean, Perkins obviously wanted to get us some fresh air. That's worked a little bit, but now he's finding himself got more pace than the race leader.
Yeah, Perkins is quicker. He's a 10th and a half quicker on the previous lap, and Evans was 2/10 quicker than them again.
Blue flag's been waved, so I'm not sure how that's going to pan out with the fact that these guys, well, they aren't a lap down. Tracy Smitherman, Tony D'Alberto. Yeah, there's
definitely something hanging down on the left rear of the Mike Pero number 10. On board with Perkins and behind Foggy. And while it's not a battle for position, ultimately, at the conclusion of the race, it probably is. A little lock up there from Perkins, and Foggy ran it in pretty deep as well. But you're right, Drake, it's just got the potential of being messy here at the moment. So early in the run with these effectively lap cars in amongst the leaders.
Hey, I think Foggy's got some issues here. That car is very slow, and he's blocking, even though it's a lap car behind him.
Yeah, he's struggling to get stopped, isn't he?
Well, he's taken the pole line, and the IPO will have a look at that. And even though he's being chased by a lap car.
Back on board with John McIntyre. Is in 10th, but just in front of the leaders. One of 3 cars to have taken a fuel stop early. Perkins on lap 7. Rollinson on lap 8. McIntyre on lap 9. So John McIntyre at the head of the queue, but he's not the race leader. Angus Fogg is. And it's the left side skirt, the sill on the Moore Slade 10 that is hanging down off the car. Down around that exhaust area.
He might have to jump over a curb, try and get rid of that. Otherwise,
I think he's got bigger dramas than that. I think it's actually broken the muffler as well. I'm just trying to see where the muffler is, and he's going to pit. So Tim Slade in. That may be to try and rectify that issue, and at the same time maybe take some fuel on board. So McIntyre at the head of the queue is not the race leader, currently in the 10th position, having taken their fuel stop. Foggy is your race leader in the Property Tutors Holden. From Evans, Owen, Story. Slade was 5th before he pitted.
I'm sure that Slade car will take fuel and fix.
Simon Evans possibly with a run here on Jack Perkins. He's going to have to get it to stick down here into the complex. Under brakes.
Not quite going to get it done. They're going to go side by side. No, Perkins.
Perkins lets him go.
Concedes.
Gave him racing room. Just taking fuel on here for the Mike Pero 10. Now they're going to have a look at that left side skirt. Now,
job done.
It looks like the muffler's still intact. There must have been some contact there. And lucky not to damage the end of the muffler. So car 10 pitting for fuel on lap 13.
You wouldn't have to be a betting man to say that probably happened on lap 1. And now Slady comes out. Just adds a little bit more fuel to the fire for Foggy.
Yeah, and Simon Evans is right there with the race leader again. First and second, third and fourth car in the queue. Just to really confuse everyone.
Foggy's got to be careful here. If he goes defensive, he's going to get the warning. He is defensive. He's blocking. But unless he's thinking he's trying to dive up the inside of McIntyre.
Well, he was a long way back for that, you would have thought. And again, I think Evans just needs to be a little bit patient here.
He doesn't want to do anything stupid here.
May get an inside run here. No, Fogg's going to look down the inside of McIntyre. There was just about contact there.
Well, that's the closest he's going to get to...
Just saw a puff of smoke off the left rear of the Slade 10 again. Off the exit of the hairpin. Foggy sideways up over the top of the hill. Angus Fogg still your race leader. 3 cars have taken their fuel stop. Still a long way to the pit window, not quite halfway there to lap 32 on lap 16. Evans just got an awkward run over the curbs then. This is nail-biting stuff for those in the championship contention.
Let's see what Angus does this time. He's still gone tight again. I don't know why he's doing that.
Pit stop here for Dominic Story, taking Galforce 1098 on board. Clean in and out. That was out of 4th place.
He'll come out in front of this bunch as well.
You would expect so. That looked like a pretty clean stop. And, yep, definitely. Looks like a big gain, actually. Big flash of flame out the left side of
not much of a gain.
Slade's car.
Slade had that extra time in the pit lane to get rid of that side skirt.
Yeah, that cost them probably about 5 to 6 seconds. That's all it was. Let's have a look at the lap times. Fogg is a 5.7, Evans a 5.8. Fastest lap of the race so far has been Steve Owen at a 5.2. His last lap was a 5.9. Evans is trying to find a way around Angus Fogg here. Certainly choosing to be rather narrow into the BNTSs.
Yeah, if he does it here again, he's going to find himself in trouble.
Evans having another look down the inside as Foggy goes down and makes contact with McIntyre.
Well, that's what he's been trying to do for the whole race, so maybe he just might have saved himself there.
Perkins is going to drive around McIntyre as well. So a little bit of breathing space for Angus Fogg. Certainly contact between himself and John McIntyre. Look at the amount of ground it's cost the Blackwood Protector Ford. Now back into the clutches of Steve Owen. Owen 3rd on track. The 1 and the 47 are both lapped cars, having taken their fuel stops.
Right, let's see what Foggy does this time. In fresh air. He's got no reason to go head to the right of the track. He does again, but I think Evans is too far behind.
Oh, Foggy's gone! No! Sideways, he lit up the rears.
And he's hit the wall.
Oh, Angus Fogg out of the race lead, and that is game over. It's knocked the rear end out of the race car.
Yep.
Oh, Angus Fogg. And it's on fire. Could it get any more dramatic?
Yep.
It's broken the Watts linkage, the rear end floating around in the car. He got sideways, lit up the rears, and fired it into the wall. Game over for Angus Fogg.
Just went in there too hot, and he just couldn't pull it back. Oh, that's a big hit.
It's punched all the diff seals out of it, and it caught fire to add insult to injury. That is game over for Angus Fogg. Started off grid 2. You can see the Watts linkage.
The bars hanging down at the back of the car.
A lot of damage.
Good shot. What we mean, those things are supposed to be hooked onto the differential, and therefore, and stop it from doing what it's doing now and going sideways and floating.
And Mark, I think you're going to see a flood of race cars. Well, no, actually not necessarily, because it's not going to bring out a safety car, is it? But
nah, certainly the Andre Heimgardner Russell car has taken the first action, coming for a fuel stop, but I have to say it's relatively calm before the storm at the moment, that's for sure, guys.
Well, it's got the fire intervention truck right behind it.
Look at the flames out of the left rear. That's all the diff oil in the axle. Oh, Angus Fogg. Simon Evans, your race leader. Steve Owen will be second. Where is Owen in that picture? There he is. He's lost a little bit of ground to Evans. Geez, that was nail-biting that first 19 laps with those early pit stoppers in amongst the leaders. There was a fair amount of contact going on.
It's John McIntyre heading down for a stop as Angus Fogg takes the wounded property tutor's car.
Well, John's got a problem here because this is out of sequence. He's already taken his fuel stop.
Obviously, work going on the right front, maybe a flat spot. There you go.
Flat spot in the effects, Mike.
No need to get Mark Pedersen in on that one. Oh, and they've got some issues.
This is a costly stop. And a stall just to add insult to injury. When it goes wrong, it just continues to go wrong. Simon Evans has picked up his pace, 105.6 last lap. Steve Owen, 105.8. Cameron Waters, 105.9. 2.4 seconds is the lead for this car over Steve Owen. Cam Waters a further 7 seconds back. And then it's Andrew Waite in fourth, only 2 seconds behind Cam Waters. So an extra pit stop there for John McIntyre and the Blackwood Protector Ford. Now, if Perkins can stay with Evans here from a lap speed point of view, that might hold him in pretty good stead for later on in the race after the compulsory driver change. Only 12 laps short of that. There is Cam Waters.
And that car comes with a free boat anchor at the moment. Apparently, if you own a boat, it's called the Gearbox from race number 2.
Yeah, it was a pretty catastrophic gearbox failure by the sound of it. I thought it had locked up the rear diff, damaged the diff as well, but they did check it just in case because of the way it stopped. But my understanding is the main nut on the back that retains everything
and
did not remain with the case, and that's why everything moved and it just destructed itself.
I think it will take no further part in a race meeting in its life, is fair to say.
Simon Evans' last lap of 5.8, Owen of 5.8, gap 2.3 seconds, 5.9 for Cam Waters in third. And Mark Pedersen, you got Foggy down there in the pits.
Yeah, Foggy, bad luck, buddy.
Yeah, hey, shit happens, doesn't it? We're pushing on pretty hard there, as you got to keep in front. That's what racing's all about. And unfortunately, the rears started to go away real early for some reason. That wasn't our plan, but I had to push on and keep in front of those fast boys behind me. Just got a bit wide on me, went round and whacked the wall. And because these things are like little Swiss watches, they fall apart when you hit anything even lightly. So it's bleeding, so she's over.
Bugger, mate, sorry about that.
It was good while it lasted, loved it.
Always smiling.
Yeah, always an optimistic side of things with Angus, even if the chips are down.
I love the comment about them being fragile. We've seen some pretty big hits from these cars and they've stood up to it. You're going to hit the concrete wall, they will tend to come off second best.
Yeah, no, that's fair analysis on that one, Jamie.
Race leader Simon Evans, lap 22, 10 laps away from the pit window opening. And really, things have just fallen into their hands, haven't they? I mean, Foggy, he gave it all as good, he gave as good as he got, but unfortunately a mistake has handed the lead back to what has been the dominant car throughout the weekend and the Endurance Series, Simon Evans and Shane van Gisbergen. Race leader, lap 22 of 70, Simon Evans. 2.6 second advantage over Steve Owen in the Chester's Holden. And an 8 second advantage for Owen over Cameron Waters. Good consistent laps here from Simon Evans. Now that he's got free, he's circulating in the mid to high fives. Fastest lap of the race still Steve Owen at the moment with a 105.2. A little bit of damage to the left front door after that contact with Angus Fogg in the early exchange changes. Tim Slade up ahead. Slade is currently in the 7th position, doing 105.5. Same lap times as Simon Evans on that last lap, 105.5.
These guys, as you might remember in race number 2, Owen and Edgell, they actually had a brake issue that they just could not fix in race 2. And we saw him go off what appeared to be, go off at the strong braking points. And so they've thrown a whole new package at this thing for race number 3. Very unusual for these cars to have an issue under these Brembo brakes. But it appears that they've got it all worked out.
Well, it's not a bad race car at the moment. Steve Owen, as ever, impressive. He doesn't do V8 supercars as a co-driver for nothing. You know, very highly rated. Probably pretty unlucky to not have a full-time driver over there, but it is so competitive for seats in the Australian V8 Supercar Championship. How about these guys? Andrew Waite and Sean Varney, they are 4th on the racetrack. Nick Shane van Gisbergen, Ford Falcon, Simply Leasing colours. Andrew's really happy to be back in a race car. He just loves it. Not that he doesn't do enough driving during the week as one of the driving instructors and taxi drivers down at Highlands Motorsport Park in Cromwell.
Yeah. He's got the dream job for a 25-year-old.
Market's looking a little bit gloomy out there. What's the weather doing?
Guys, we've just been given the heads up by one of the officials. They said in 10 minutes we're going to get a bit of a downpour, and here's the Auckland rain radar. That's us. The blue stuff is very heavy rain. The yellow stuff is even heavier, boys, so it's on its way.
Oh, that's going to throw a whole new spanner in the works. Pukekohe and drama just goes together like peas and carrots. Not that I particularly like peas and carrots. 105.5 for Evans. Now he's got into a rhythm. He's sitting out there punching 105.5, 105.5, 105.6. But Steve Owen's last lap was a 106.4, nearly a second slower. The gap's out to 4.3 seconds. Now in race 1, Van Gisbergen handed this car to Simon with a 6-second lead. And they held that to the end of the first race. The second race, a gobsmacking 48-second victory. They're looking pretty comfortable. Out in front, just 7 laps away from the pit window opening here at Pukekohe. The third and final race, the Fuchs 500 weekend. Round 3 of the Hankook Super Series and the final of the Endurance Series. At the lap times, Dominic Story's in the 5s, a 5.8. Tim Slade's got some pace at a 5.6, back in 7th.
Window wipers are on, Jamie.
Yeah, there's some rain around.
Guys, it's actually a little bit more than rain. That 10 minutes kind of escalated a bit forward to right here, right now. So, look, those guys that haven't done their fuel stop, this is going to play right into their hands because, of course, you can come in and do your fuel stop. Once the fuel guy's back over the line we spoke about earlier, then you can change all your tyres. One stop. Those guys that have done the fuel stop have got to come in, do the driver change, and then another stop for tyres.
Drama here at Pukekohe. It is starting to rain. All of these cars are on slick tyres. You can see the mist in the background. Rain on the camera lenses. We haven't got to the pit window opening for the driver changes yet either. So this is going to effectively throw an extra pit stop into the mix, as we saw in Taupo. However, at Taupo, we didn't have the fuel stops in the equation. And you would think they are going to go straight into pit lane. No, Evans stays out. Evans stays out.
Right, who's going to make the move? Because Simon's going to lose valuable time. This is heavy rain. This actually looks not too bad.
On the front straight, it doesn't look too bad. We have to wait and see who comes in. Owen didn't go with him, so that's notable. Now, Cam Waters was a little bit further back. I think Cam Waters may have gone into the pits. He was not in that shot. Certainly Dominic Story's on pit lane. No, Waters did go through. Waters is 8 seconds down on Steve Owen. So Dominic Story, he was in about 7th. He'd taken a fuel stop. So Dominic Story, oh, Cam Waters into the fence. That's down onto the back straight. And he's going to drive it away. Didn't Angus Fogg just say these things are fragile? That looked like a pretty big hit into the tyre wall. It bounced it back out. Here's the replay. On the approach through the S's, loses the rear. Oh, it actually wasn't too bad in the end. The sand actually slowed it up quite substantially. There's in the background looking down the back straight. But it is very, very slippery out there. McIntyre in. They are going to go to a wet tyre, Mark.
Sorry, guys, it is blowing a gale down here, and Mother Nature has just opened up the clouds for us. So this is wet as wet, and these guys aren't going to survive much longer, that's for sure.
Well, drama aplenty here at Pukekohe to keep all of their teams on their toes. Rain is now in the mix for the third and final race. So McIntyre's the first to make that stop onto wets. Still 4 laps away from the pit window opening for the compulsory driver change. So it's going to be very, very busy over the next 10 minutes here on pit lane. Aaron Russell in the Hydrolink 22.
Let's wind our clock back to Taupo for round 1 of this series. And you remember Greg Murphy come in and drove straight into the garage, and we had a Formula 1 style pit stop. That is not allowed anymore. There was some amendments made to the interpretation of the rule, and therefore any work has to be carried out in the working lane.
All right, here are the race leaders. Simon Evans has actually got ahead of Tim Slade. So you would expect these guys to pit. And indeed they are. Slade does not, however. First and second, Evans and Owen certainly do.
Guys, this is just nuts not stopping, but man, there is total confusion down here in pit lane. The Heimgartner cars come in parked as they should do. The Story cars come in and blocked at south, parked in at 45 degrees, so they can't even get out. And what happened the lap earlier is the Story car come in, and then Dominic decided that he didn't want to stop for wets, go for slicks to wets, and carried on back through. So he probably wished he stopped the lap earlier too.
I thought he just toured the pit lane.
He did. He come into pit lane, and halfway down he decided not to stop and carry on because he thought it was going to dry out. And then, of course, Mother Nature dropped all the rain on everybody.
Here's the race leader. Now they're going to go for fuel, not doing a tyre change. They may do it at the conclusion of the fuel stop.
Yeah, well, you can't do it at the same time, Jamie.
Yep.
So these
Hey
guys...
guys, sorry guys, just let me jump in here. You're right, you can do it in the same stop, just not at the same time.
Yep.
So there's the answer to your question there, Jamie.
Murphy and Perkins doing the same thing. 2 guns per car. So there's not a lot of action going out on the racetrack. It's all on pit lane at the moment.
Playing with a contentious part of this car, the wheel nuts, which there's been a few issues with. Story finally takes the number.
Well, this is going to be interesting. Who is going to be the winner on pit lane? And the pit window for the compulsories changes is only a handful of laps away. So Slade, interestingly, Mark, he stayed out. His last lap was a 1:17. But I'm just wondering if maybe he was going to stack up with the Murphy-Perkins one in there.
Yeah, Murphy-Perkins car is just leaving the lane, as you see now. The noise in the background is Tim Edgell just going out. The Smet car is still in the pit lane changing tyres. They're just getting out now. They're going to be a little bit hampered by the
yes, Steve Owens jumped them.
Everyone's jumped them.
And the Moore car is in now, guys.
So Tim Slade is in. Yeah, I wonder if that was to avoid double stacking maybe there with Jack Perkins in pit lane.
No, I don't think so, Jamie, because it's actually 2 different crews service that vehicle. They're all independent to each other. So, yeah, not too sure they would have taken that gamble.
Well, yeah, I mean, just a lot of lost time with the wet conditions. I mean, how wet is it out there as we're watching John McIntyre down the inside of Steve Owen? How wet is it down there?
Wet. Let me tell you that now. It's very wet. It's not going to take long for the circuit start the puddling, but always, as you know, and Shane, you'll testify this, mate. Pukekohe, man, look at the damage. Sorry, boys, look at the damage on the sleigh car. The muffler is actually, well, the muffler's actually hanging off that thing. It's just sitting there.
I wondered if it hadn't damaged the muffler with that earlier on. I mean, it's still intact, but it's just hanging down. There's a strap that retains that is not on the car. So currently, we've got Steve Owen as your race leaders. Simon Evans in second. They probably lost 10 seconds to Steve Owen in that pit stop. Seems like an eternity with these 5-stud wheels. So how's this going to cycle out? Still cars that have not taken their fuel stop. Stall there for Tim Slade. And a second one. And look at the conditions out on the racetrack. Steve Owen, your race leader. Last lap was a 1:19 on a wet tyre. And they were doing mid to high 5s, so they're 14 seconds a lap slower than what they were doing in the dry. Still Simon Evans in second, 10 seconds out of the lead, and that's what I thought he lost in that pit stop. Looking through the gloom, treacherous conditions here at Pukekohe. Now with those that have stopped for fuel. How's this going to pan out for them at the end of the race? Because at least half of the field has still not stopped for fuel. The 4 car hasn't. I don't believe the 8 car hasn't. They've definitely pitted for tyres to change to wets.
You'd be a fool if you didn't put fuel in at the same time. Honestly.
Oh, the Evans, yeah, the Evans team did, didn't they? Mark, did you see if did Steve Owen and Tim Edgell, did they fuel that car at the same time?
They would have had to, Jamie. You just wouldn't take that sort of risk.
You would have thought so, but certainly there was a 10-second loss there for Evans as opposed to Owen's stop. So the 4 car definitely did take fuel. And you would expect that the 1 car did as well. Look at these conditions. How quickly can a race change? Only in Pukekohe. At least it's wet the whole way around.
Yep, it's consistent.
A reminder, the
as
pit lane window
McIntyre goes past Andrew Waite.
on lap 32 and closes on 38.
Pit window about to open.
On lap 30.
McIntyre actually a lap down because of that earlier tyre change.
Yeah, they changed. They had a second stop to change the right front tyre with a flat spot. So they are definitely delayed. Steve Owen, Simon Evans. Evans has just taken a second out of Steve Owen, though the gap down to 8.9 seconds. Cam Waters remarkably still third after that off. Pit window not far away from opening. Jack Perkins in the Mike Perra number 1. Yeah, McIntyre is a lap down on this car. Steve Owens just picked up his pace as Johnny Mack gives Jack a bit of a reminder he's there.
Yeah, I want to be unlapped.
Owen in turns just taken a half second back out of Simon Evans. The gap back out to 9.5 seconds. John McIntyre struggling for a little bit of vision there on the onboard. Looked like the left side of the screen certainly looked to be a little bit fogged up. Look how dark it is here. All of a sudden at the racetrack for race 3. Miserable conditions.
Very gentle on the throttle. Trying to put those hundreds of horsepower down gently with that fly-by-wire throttle system, which is not a very easy thing to do, especially in these conditions.
Yeah, no. Oh, Perkins just about off on the grass up over the top of the hill.
Hey boys, I'm going to throw another spanner in the works for you all here.
Thanks.
Yeah, the rain's eased off and starting to get a little bit brighter on the horizon, but 40 laps to go, 45 minutes to go in terms of the official time racing. So this might actually become a timed race versus a duration race here.
Well, the lap times are getting quicker on the wets. Pit window is now open. 1:13.7 last lap for Steve Owen. 1:15.5 for Simon Evans. So Steve Owen's got big pace on wet tyres.
I'd be suggesting that these guys are going to try and maximise their time on the circuit and come in at the very, very last minute in the event that they might change back to slicks.
There's the race leader, Steve Owen. Mark, if you get an opportunity, do you want to just confirm with the Chesters guys that they did take fuel on board at that stop?
Guys, I'm looking at the fuel tune in the Tim Edgell team, and it is empty, so that's confirmed.
That confirms that. That's easy. Thank you for that, mate. So the Edgell car did take the fuel stop, so some time lost for the Smeg Holden. Doing fuel and the tyre change. About 10 seconds. Owen continues on. Pit window closes on lap 38. For the compulsory driver change. There's Tim Edgell waiting to get in the Chesters Holden.
There's still a lot of water out there, isn't there? So that's going to take a fair while to pump out.
Certainly there's no issues with these Hankook wets. They are a very, very good wet tyre, and they are durable too in drying conditions.
Oh, McIntyre!
McIntyre slowing, and he's going to stop it on the infield.
He's lost drive. I wonder whether he's hit
Or it's
hit the wall.
Or it's gone onto a limp mode maybe. It was still running, but it was hunting.
Here's the first driver change.
Heimgartner in. Heimgartner in. Looking all pretty relaxed down there, Mark.
Yeah, it was very, very much so. And it's quite a smart move. Obviously, Andre's got a lot of confidence in these cars in the wet. Or Mr. Russell was brand new to the series, so pretty daunting task for the young fella.
Will we see a safety car here? And if we do, you're going to have a whole flood of driver changes happening because McIntyre's parked up on the inside off the exit of the back straight.
Guys, the car number 1 just come past the top of the hill. Sounded like something was dragging on the bottom of it.
Front
You're
splitter.
right. You're right.
Yeah,
No,
wow.
it's actually off another car. No, it's...
He's collected something.
Is it one of the muffler surrounds off another car? It's embedded itself in the front of the splitter on the Jack Perkins number 1. I don't think it's part of the splitter off that race car.
He's cleaning up the road before he gets to it.
It looks like the stainless steel surround off the left-hand sill where the exhaust exits, but it's not his. As Simon Evans pits, we'll hand over to Shane van Gisbergen.
So the Rainmaster steps in. Let's see what Van Gisbergen can do in these conditions. And that's a real quick stop.
Yeah, lost a little bit of time trying to get around the 14 though, as Tim Edgell's already left pit lane. The gap was about 10 seconds. It's probably not going to be too dissimilar. But damage to the left-hand door. Van Gisbergen in.
I just spoke to the Johnny Mack team's boys, and they seem to think it's an alternator failure. Sorry, in that car.
Okay. Well, it's disappointing for the Blackwood Protector Ford.
It was strange, Mark, because it actually didn't have any drive.
Yeah, that'll be confirmed. It's probably the first thing to go is the demisters, and then it's the engine stopped. They said, yeah, to the best of their knowledge, mate, it just stopped. So got a bit of a bugger.
Nick Percat jumps in the number 9.
So we'll soon find out where these guys are going to cycle back out. And there is a safety car. There is a safety car.
Car has been deployed. Safety car has been deployed.
And this is going to mix the order up as well. Look at the demisting in Nick Percat's car. That's not that much better either. Who do they pick up as the race leader? Currently looks to be Cam Waters. Tim Slade's in. I wonder if it's that surround off that calf with the muffler that got buried up underneath the Jack Perkins Murphy number 1.
Smart thinking by Tim there at the end.
Here's a replay. So this is a bit of debris. Yep, Jack couldn't have got him any further in the centre of the car if he tried. Don't know 100% if that was the one off the sister M3 car. Man, there is a lot going on in this third and final race at Pukekohe. But Jack Perkins pits, Greg Murphy is in. Obviously, whatever was buried underneath the front of that front splitter has dislodged itself. And Shane, as to who's going to gain here is literally going to be a lottery, because some of these guys have taken their driver change on the safety car, some just before. Everyone's on a wet tyre. I think a couple have yet to make a fuel stop, but the majority have made their fuel stop.
And that safety car was waving cars through a lap ago. So some of those guys slowed down and then got waved past.
Certainly Steve Owen did. They had just pitted. Mitch Cunningham in, Cam Waters out. Windscreen wipers made a mess of the windscreen banner on the top of the car. Cunningham
Gets at the jandle heading out the pit lane.
There was no chance that car was ever going to stall coming out of that pit box.
It had some RPM going, didn't it?
I don't think I've ever seen a car go sideways down the pit lane on the rev limiter, on the pit lane speedometer as well.
So, Mark, any idea who the race leader is here with all the cycles and drivers stopping on safety cars, some just before? It's the scoring says Edgell with Van Gisbergen in second, but that 10-second deficit for Van Gisbergen is now negated effectively.
Well, I have no idea, to be honest with you guys, but I'm outside here. The Timmy Edgell team, and they got the biggest smile in pit lane, so I reckon it's them at the moment.
Certainly the scoring says that, and I think everything else is sort of balanced out. But for Tim, he's now got Shane van Gisbergen not too far away from being behind him to close up on this safety car. Lap 37, still a long way to go here. 33 laps. Will the track now dry? What's the weather doing down there, Mark? Are you still getting rain?
Hey, look at this, Jamie. Just sorry to interrupt. We will have a change because Heimgartner's come out in second.
Believe they're a lap down. If you look at the scoring.
Let's wait till they cross the stripe.
Yeah, we'll wait and see if it balances out when they cross the line again. Is it coming back? Mark, sorry, mate, is it still raining?
Look, a little bit of drizzle, but there's certainly a fair bit of steam coming off the tracks. So what we've learned early in the weekend is that because the track's got a fair bit of retained heat in it, once it stops raining, it's going to dry. And with these angry beasts, with these magnificent Hankook tyres, look, it's possible we're going to get a dry line before the end of the race. But what we've learned earlier in the season, these things will do 30 or 40 laps on these wet tyres once all the blocks are worn off. It's not pretty, but they are still effective.
No, the Heimgartner car is dropping down the order, so it looks like they're down a lap. So 37 laps complete for Edgell, 37 for Van Gisbergen, 37 for Cunningham. Cunningham third, Paul Manuel fourth, Greg Murphy in fifth. So that safety car, I think's hurt a couple of them. So they retrieve John McIntyre's Blackwood protector Ford. So with the alternator going down, Shane, we did detect, I thought there was a bit of mist building up inside the screen of that thing, which means that the blower's not activating. And it's just slowly sucking all the juice on the electrical side out of the car. Actually, Van Gisbergen and Evans had a little fright in race number 1. They had an alternator going down towards the end of the race. It was just a broken wire, just a connection with all the vibration.
You can never stop learning or never do enough preparation in race cars, can you? Just the smallest things can catch out.
Hey guys, look, just been speaking to the officials down here, and they said it's almost 100% guaranteed now it's going to be a time-determined race.
All right. So safety car out. Tim Edgell, your race leader. Van Gisbergen second. There's a lapped car in between them. According to the scoring, certainly Andre Heimgartner is currently listed in 6th.
Struggling to see where Heimgartner lost his lap.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure that out as well. Looking at the lap scoring, we've got the safety car flag out over the laps, but certainly on the lap scoring, it is a lap down. With Moore and Slade in behind them, Barney and Waite. Moore and Slade, we've only seen really lost a little bit of time when they plucked that left sill off the car, the damage around the muffler area. And they're 4th in the queue behind Van Gisbergen. Which also means, no, Murphy and Perkins are on the same lap. They're on lap 38. There's 5 cars scored on lap 38. Edgell, Van Gisbergen, Cunningham, Manuel, Murphy. So with those cycles and how they came out with the safety car out on track, that's obviously where they've cycled back into the mix. A few of those cars have lost laps.
But they did wave some other. They did wave some cars.
They waved Steve Owen through.
Race management. Pit lane entry is now closed.
I would suggest that might be a little bit of
driver change.
he did, she did going on after race number 3 to. If some of these guys feel aggrieved.
It's not going to be quite the same without him here next time.
We'll try and get Mark Pedersen down there to figure out, let's say, from the story, Pukekohe number 9 and the Heimgartner teams, and see whether or not they think they are in fact a lap down and where they lost it.
Yeah, and Moore and Slade, we're going to get a restart here. Lights are out. Lap 39 restart. Lights are out on the safety car. We're going back racing here at Pukekohe. Lap 39 restart. A little bit of confusion over the order, with Heimgartner second on track, a lap down.
Absolutely. This is going to be interesting because
Murphy coming in, and that may be for a fuel stop, potentially, straight off the restart. Certainly the Evans and Edgell cars don't have to make another stop. They've both taken fuel and done their compulsory driver change. All of the teams should have done a compulsory driver change by now because the pit window is closed. Back on board with Shane van Gisbergen. Not a lot of throttle application going on there, so let's check out Greg Murphy. What is going on here? Do they need to take fuel?
You wouldn't think so, would you?
No, it's got an issue.
No,
they're going to go to slicks. There you go, Mark Pedersen going to slicks. Greg Murphy.
Well, given what we just what we saw from Simon Evans on board Simon Evans' car, and Steve Owen, like
Tim Edgell, straight line the S's.
You'd hardly think it's even remotely dry enough to put slicks on.
Well, they're going to take the gamble. Mark's down there on pit lane.
No, I don't actually believe I'm seeing this correct, guys, but I am. Apparently, like, there's puddles everywhere in pit lane. I know pit lane's a bit different to the track, but like, these guys are so tentative come over the top of the hill that it's going to be an interesting visual watching this car go round. Well,
Tim Edgell's just straight line the S's out of the race lead. He cycled back in front of Shane van Gisbergen as they complete lap number 40. Murphy going out on a slick tyre.
I mean, they can't even get onto the back straight properly.
I'm just listening to the throttle application from Shane van Gisbergen. I mean, they're doing 13s. So they're 8 seconds down on what they were doing on dry tyres. So the pace has picked up from when they first started on the wet tyre.
Well, M3 Racing have rolled the dice before.
30 laps still to go, though.
When you talk of it like, well, there is, but it's whether we go the distance is unsure. And with the race being as slow as what it is now in the rain, won't help it.
So I've just been speaking to Paul Forgy there, and he's got a big smile on his face and said we actually planned to do that a lap earlier in the safety car. So he said it's a roll of the dice. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, they got nothing to lose. I mean, they're third in the Endurance Championship. 44 points away from second with their sister car, number 10, Mike Pero colours for Moore and Slade. So they're down on the 111, so this pace is definitely picking up. 111.5 for Edgell, 111.9 for van Gisbergen. What haven't we seen in this race? Let's just take a little step back. Not a lot. So Nick Percat lighting up the rears of that car. Certainly looks a little bit dry down the back, Drakey. Percat looking for a little bit of extra moisture on the outside there.
Problem with Pukekohe Park is that there are several different track surfaces, and some will hold water and some won't, and it's very disconcerting driving on it. As we see the McIntyre car head out again, probably got McIntyre still at the wheel there.
Gibson will be in it, definitely. He hasn't put the co-driver's light on because all of the teams have done the driver change, or very wide there for Sean Varney. Percat's going to pick him off down the front straight, just as Mark Gibson comes back out on track.
Guys, just spoken to the 22 car, Andrew Heimgartner, and number 9 car. They've both essentially done 3 stops each, so they kind of argued, I don't think we are, but we could actually take down the chin being a lap down.
Okay. Let's see what this man here can do on a set of Hankook slicks.
We'll have to look at the lap times. That's going to be the representative thing, because the leader's doing 1:11.6s, Van Gisbergen 1:12.1, Tim Edgell, the race leader, and doing a good job out in front in the Chester's Holden. Greg Murphy currently down in 9th, 1:21. 1:21 on the slick tyres, so 10 seconds slower than the race leader.
Well, that'll be interesting to test Murph's patience right at the moment.
Yeah,
as you can see clearly the speed difference between a set of slicks and a set of wets.
Yeah, Edgel's continuing to get away here from Van Gisbergen though. That gap is extending. 1:11.3 for Edgel. 1:12.2 for Van Gisbergen. 26 laps to go. 10 seconds a lap difference. It's going to be interesting to watch that threshold, that change where they drop off and the slicks start to come into their own. It certainly looks to be drying.
That's the part of the track, not right here, but further back, that absorbs the water a lot easier. And then you're back into it now, but there's rain on the lens.
Fastest at the moment is actually an 11.0 with Andre Heimgartner, who's driving away from the leaders.
Well, he'd be looking forward to a safety car again right now, wouldn't he? Get him back on the lead lap.
And you would think all of these cars are on a dry setup. Don't know how much of an opportunity there was to make a change before the rain came, if they did at all. So there is Shane Van Gisbergen. Second place currently 2 seconds behind Tim Edgel. Edgel, a two-time race winner in the V8 SuperTourers. One at Hampton Downs and one here at Pukekohe. The one here at Pukekohe was with Lee Holdsworth from memory. May have been at Hampton Downs as well in the endurance part of the series previously. Van Gisbergen steps up his pace into the 10.9s. 10.6 for Tim Edgel. Murphy 19.6. So there's still that 9 to 10 second difference on the tyres. 25 laps to go. On board with Mark Gibson. Dancing with the Stars, I think we call this segment, Drakey.
Dancing with his Alpine Stars by the look of it. So we go into the footwell of the number 47, the young man from Taupo. Bit of fancy footwork there, braking and giving the engine revs a bit of a blip to help with the gearbox down change. And he does that to stop the car lurching when you change gear too quickly. Your old Toyota Corolla at home. When you change down, it can lock the rears. If you do it too quick, that enables the flow, keeps the engine revs up, and just limits that lurch that you get. Rest the foot over on the left on the footwell. And she's all action.
John McIntyre looking a lot better without the mode, I've got to say, Johnny. So that was a 1:12.1 from Gibson. Now Murphy, who's ahead of him on track in 9th, just did a 1:18.5. So Murph's starting to get quicker now. But so are the leaders at 10.6 from Edgel, 10.7 from Van Gisbergen on board with the Giz. Looking to go down the inside of Richard Moore. Gets that job done. So Moore down a lap in 6th. It's so much happening. Fuel stops, driver changes, changes to wet tyres and a safety car. It's just totally changed the complexion of this race. Van Gisbergen's looking for water. Starting to get a drying line down here on the front straight into 1.
Yeah, what he's probably thinking about now, Jamie, is I've got to manage these tyres for a lot longer. And here goes Heimgartner, about to pass Murph.
Murphy's doing 1:16s.
And he obviously held Andre up a heck of a lot because Tim's come through as well.
So this is the leader. So Murph's about to go down a lap. And we've seen with the pit stops, a good pit stop will keep you ahead and not lose a lap. So this is going to be very, very close. Murph is getting quicker. A 1:16. Leader's doing 1:10s.
He's actually 3 laps down now, Jamie. He's lost a lot of time in the pits due to that tyre change under green conditions, which he would pick up again if those other guys have to stop. But,
look at that line.
But if you wind the clock back almost a year ago. This is what M3 did to everyone else. They didn't change.
All right, here's Van Gisbergen down the inside of Murph. Tim Edgell, race leader at 11.0, 1.4 seconds ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen now, whose last lap was a 1:10.6. Murphy, a 1:14.9. Big sideways moment, though, off to the back straight. He's got Richard Moore in his mirrors now. He's also on wet, so Murph is the only one on a slick tyre. And he's going to have to find his way back around these cars in front.
Yeah, at least twice though, Jamie. And that's if they don't stop to put a slick tyre on. Very frustrating part of the race for likes of Murphy, but then again it's frustrating for Van Gisbergen up ahead of him because he's thinking, am I going to make it? I need to try and find some water, keep these tyres cool.
Well, he's closing up on Edgell. Look at the gap now. It was 2.5 seconds a couple of laps ago. Van Gisbergen's all over Edgell down into turn number 1. Track is definitely drying.
Yeah, there's definitely a dry line through turn 1.
Edgell just off the racing line down through 1. Van Gisbergen launches it up the inside. Edgell lights up the rears. New race leader, Van Gisbergen into the lead.
Well, that was set up before turn 1.
1:09.4. Fastest lap in the wet for Van Gisbergen. Murphy, a 1:11.9. Sorry, 1:12.7 for Murphy. 1:12.7, just a couple of seconds slower. So that drop-off is not too far away from coming back to Murphy, but has he got enough laps to play with? Some nervous faces in the Smeg pit. Stephen Giles there just shaking his head in the background.
Tell you who's sitting back there in third position, Jamie, the Mitch Cunningham, who was our race 3 winner at Taupo in the rain.
Similar conditions.
In similar conditions. Just lurking in the background. I don't think he's as quick as these other boys, but if something goes wrong or he's been managing things better, he's going to have another part to play in this race, and there he is there.
Well, he was nearly a second quicker than Tim Edgell in that last lap. Nearly a second quicker. Van Gisbergen was
he might be
2 seconds
doing that. Big slide round. Big slide around turn number 1. And a great recovery from hitting the wall at goal corner. And a good recovery from race 2 for destroying that gearbox. So the car's just moving around a little. Oh, he's gone straight through.
Moving around just a little bit too much there, and he's taken the other way. He's gone off into the grass.
Oh, he's going to have to be careful of how much time he picks up there. He's going to have to slow right down.
Absolutely no reaction from the team. So Paul Manuel is in behind them, just there, coming off the hairpin now. 3rd and 4th. So Van Gisbergen's last lap, a 9.7, 9.8. Murphy, an 8.3. Murphy's now going quicker than those on wet.
Oh, Paul Manuel gets it very wide at Sound Hill. And you saw it come up over the hill, and he just got the wheels too far to the left. Put it in the dirty, wet stuff, and had to get right out of it.
19 laps to go. This track is definitely drying. We've gone from dry to full wet to drying conditions. And it looks like the Van Gisbergen team are going to make a stop to slicks. Murphy in the last lap was quicker than those on wet tyres. Van Gisbergen on the radio saying, boys, I think we might need to change this. So this is lap 51. Murphy has completed, about to complete lap 49. Race leader in.
I'm struggling to see why they're doing this.
Well, 19 laps. That track was drying pretty quickly.
Well, we haven't had advice yet from race control whether it's going to be a time race, but it certainly must be getting close.
Well, Shane's pretty relaxed. He's just waving to the flag marshals coming into pit lane. So the race leader in to go to slick tyres. Tim Edgell takes over the race lead. It'll put Mitch Cunningham up into second. Paul Manuel into third. Again, these guys do not need to win this last race. They just need to finish to tie up the Endurance Championship. It does take an age to change these 5-nut wheels. Stephen Giles on the gun on the left-hand side of the car, former chief mechanic for Mika Hakkinen in the McLaren Formula 1 days. Just seems like an eternity. So Tim Edgell's last lap was a 1:12, Mitch Cunningham's was a 1:10, Greg Murphy 1:08.8. There is Murphy. So he gets 1 lap back on the 4. 1:06.7 for Greg Murphy. They're just about back on race pace before the rain came. As Van Gisbergen back out. Are we going to see anyone else do something similar, or are they just playing it safe, Mark?
Guys, man, I'm just down here now looking at the tyres. The tyres that comes off Shane's car, seeing the Heimgartner car comes right behind us. But they're worn, but they're certainly not worn away. And I'm just wondering if the team actually realises this is now a timed race with only 15 minutes to go, because they lost a whole minute in the pit stop. By the time they come in and out, it's going to be a whole lap. So it's an awful lot of time to go, considering how good this tyre will run in dry conditions.
Mark, I didn't put a watch on that, unfortunately. I was just trying to pick my bottom lip up off the ground in belief, but he's lost more than a lap.
Yeah, it was just over 60 seconds stationary time, Shane. So add another 40 seconds in, I guess, for the pit lane, then it's an awful lot of time to make up.
Well, Heimgartner's decided to do the same thing.
Well, he's got nothing to lose, this guy. I mean, he's a lap down.
Interesting to see the state of that tyre. So Tim Edgell, 1:12 last lap. Cunningham, 1:12. Manuel, 1:11. Moore, 1:14. Murphy, 1:06.4. Up into 8th goes Greg Murphy. Shane Van Gisbergen will be firing it up now. Again, they just need to finish. They had a 20-point advantage over the number 10 car, which are now up into 4th. The difference there is 1:14 for 4th. 6th for the Evans car. Sorry, 1:21 for 4th, 1:08. So that's a 13-point gain.
Jamie, I just witnessed the Edgell car lock up in the rear.
That's the race leader, well and truly off.
But also witnessing this guy here on the screen right now, Mitch Cunningham, closing in on him.
Are we seeing a repeat of Taupo all over again? It was. Here's the replay.
I saw it locked up heading in there. And Tim decides better and just...
Lucky that wasn't down into turn 1 where it's a little bit bumpier.
Well, Tim's car is looking very, very average at this stage.
All right, Murphy's doing 1:06.2s now. He's nearly back into the 5s. Fastest lap of the race was a 1:05.2 from Steve Owen before the rain. Look at the cars moving around on the blocks. They are really starting to move around now.
Mitch's looks better than Tim's.
As Mark said, if they do time this race and shorten it, who's going to have enough laps and who's going to run out of laps?
Guys, actually, there is another thing which I'm going to just mention about. The left rear tyre that's coming off all these cars, the first I looked, it was only a right tyre, sorry, is absolutely goose. It's blistered through the tread pattern, almost down to the tread. And of course, as we know, it's very hot, very humid here. The track's drying, and that left rear has taken a punishing. So could actually be a saving grace for these guys changing back to slicks.
It's strange how different conditions, Mark, have been a factor. I mean, we've seen these guys do like 30 laps and 15 of them in the dry conditions on this wet tyre before.
Yeah, these are probably different conditions we had before, Shane, because it's hot. The track's hot, everything about it. And, you know, being here at Pukekohe, it's at this time of year, just nothing is working for these wet tyres, unfortunately.
Well, they're starting to really pay for it now because the leaders are in the 1:12s. Murphy and Van Gisbergen are doing mid-6s. You're right, Shane Murph was 2 laps down, so he's actually cycled back out behind Shane Van Gisbergen, who is in 5th.
And he's still a lap down. So here comes Cunningham. And from what Jamie just said, these guys are only 6 seconds a lap slower. So if they're one lap down, and that's a reasonable attempt at blocking. And
Cunningham couldn't get it turned. Couldn't get it stopped, couldn't get it turned.
And that would take you 10 laps. But look who's coming in the background. Shane Van Gisbergen, 4 cars back from here, and he's going to unlap himself. So it's 6 seconds a lap. If there's 10 laps to go, and it says we've got about 14.
Here's his game on.
He's going to do it. Much to this side of the commentary box.
Wow. Don't you love these races? So Evans, Van Gisbergen now up into 4th.
Shane's just got to be patient here. Don't want to go and do anything silly.
Down the inside of Nick Percat, who's struggling in those wet tyres. Now Van Gisbergen's last lap, a 5.2, second fastest lap of the race. 5.2 from Van Gisbergen. He's going to go by Cunningham. This is to unlap himself. So he's just unlapped himself from Nick Percat. Can these guys survive on what's left of these wet tyres? And as easy as that, he's going to go by Tim Edgell. So still in 4th, Greg Murphy in behind him. In 5th. So certainly that was a big call from Murphy, but they rolled the dice, but I think they're just going to run out of laps. They were already down. Van Gisbergen. Mark Pedersen down in the pits. More about tyres.
Guys, look, this is the tyre that just come off the Moore car. This part of the tyre here, we don't have to worry about that. That's national wear. This here is the big concern for the teams. This is actually a blister. It's tearing chunks off. This is at the left rear corner. And this tyre is so hot at the carcass. And that's the problem they got, is now it's getting drier and drier. When these starts going through, once you get a blister, the next thing is it goes through the cord. Next thing is you probably have a possible tyre failure. So those guys on wet, they'll be rolling for a bit of rain, or they'll be searching for a wet track to keep cooling these tyres off.
Well, there's 2 drivers in the 6s. In fact, Greg Murphy is 6.1 on that last lap. Van Gisbergen in the 7s, Heimgartner in the 7s. 12 laps still left to go. Something similar to what we saw in Taupo with an exciting... Oh, that was Cunningham off the edge of the racetrack. Tim Edgell gets him back.
Cunningham needs to tune it down a little, otherwise he's not going to get to the end even on whatever tyre.
Well, Mitch must have got through to the lead there for a moment, because I think Tim's gone back around him. So that is 1st and 2nd. There's nothing between them. Edgell's last lap was a 13.1, 13.3. Trying to hold on for the win. Van Gisbergen in 3rd, a lap down, but driving away from these guys at a great rate. A 4.9 from Van Gisbergen. Fastest lap of the race. A 1:04.9 for Van Gisbergen. Now, getting himself back on the lead lap is what the difference is. Has he got enough time? If he's doing 4s, he's 9 seconds a lap quicker at the moment than the leaders.
Well, under those calculations, those times, he will have no problem.
That's if it goes full race distance.
Guys, 8 laps to go in this timed race.
Okay, 8 laps.
8 laps. Timmy is 60 seconds in front, roughly, from what I can work out. And the guys are going to gain 10 seconds a lap. So
it's less than that.
It's going to be a good handicap race.
It's less than that, more, because Van Gisbergen's just done another 4.9, a 4.921. 53 seconds. 53 seconds. And Nick Percat's also a lap down. He's about to unlap himself. If he can squeeze down the inside.
The checkered flag will be shown.
Right, I reckon the fly in the ointment here is Mitch Cunningham. I think he's got better pace than what Tim Edgell has. So if he can get himself past, he could hang on, and he's close.
He's very close. Battle for the lead on wet tyres. Mitch Cunningham down the inside.
Look at this, both of them deep, sliding around.
Former Toyota Racing Series champ against a former New Zealand Formula Ford champion. That's going to tie each other up though a little bit. Van Gisbergen goes quicker again, a 4.7, a 1:04.7. He's only 4/10ths off the track record. Greg Murphy currently holds that at a 4.3. That matches the fastest lap he did in race number 1. 44 seconds is the gap. He took another 9 seconds out of the race leaders. There's Greg Murphy. He goes by. He unlaps himself. New race leader, Mitch Cunningham. Murphy's last lap was a 7.0. So if they go to lap 67, can Van Gisbergen close the gap to these guys? Greg Murphy in the 5th position. Nick Percat is just ahead. This is for position. Murphy down the inside. Up into 4th goes Greg Murphy on his swan song. Final time at Pukekohe in a V8 Super Tourer. Murphy to 4th. Van Gisbergen a 1:05.0 the last lap. Cunningham a 1:12, so that was a 7-second gain. 36 seconds is the gap. You know, the 4 laps, that's going to be 28. It's going to be close. It's going to be close. Mitch Cunningham's last lap was an 11.9. He's driving the wheels off the Cunningham Construction Ford. A 1:11.9 for Cunningham. So they've got pretty good pace. Considering they're still on that wet tyre, getting that car to live. Tim Edgell, a 12.2. He was only 3/10 slower. Waiting for Van Gisbergen to complete the next lap to see what the gaps come down to. A 1:04.7, 29 seconds. 29 seconds for Van Gisbergen, and he is on it.
He's trying hard, isn't he? Look at him. Absolutely working that thing.
Absolute full commitment. 29 seconds, and we believe maybe 4 laps left to go here, maybe 5. Stunning watching Van Gisbergen in qualifying. I reckon we got to watch 2 of the best laps ever around this place, with a new qualifying record for Shane Van Gisbergen in the qualifying session for the co-drivers. 1:11.8. I can't believe the pace Mitch has got with this car on this wet tyre. He's got the tyres to live. Can he win again for the 2nd time in the Endurance Series, paired with Cam Waters?
He's obviously doing a good job of hanging on to that thing. It doesn't look sideways.
But he's got good car speed, an 11.8. Edge will just drop back into a 12.6, 22 seconds. Another 7-second gain for Van Gisbergen. 3 laps, and he's going to be with them. Will they get to lap 66?
Tim's got the wipers going, praying for rain. But the only issue here with this man on the screen is, as Mark Pedersen alluded to before, is whether or not those tyres can actually last and not blister and puncture.
Well, again, he's got good car speed, still doing 1:11s. He's pretty consistent in the 11s. Tim's tried to stay with him, but look at the loss there. Tim, has Edgell got a problem? Oh, I thought there for a moment he might have had a puncher going. He lost an incredible amount of time there to Richard Moore. An 11.3 for Cunningham. He just found some time. So the gap was 22 seconds. Van Gisbergen inside probably a third of a lap. 16 seconds. That was a 6-second gain that time. So Mitch Cunningham is driving the wheels off the Cunningham Ford. Mark, any idea of pit lane as to what lap we will see the last lap board come out?
6 minutes from now, guys. 6 minutes is what they're saying. Yeah, but look, probably a bit of an answer why the Cunningham car's picking a bit of pace up. I've just looked at the tyres.
Sorry, Mark, he's just gone off through the BNT. Says he's back on the track again. Sorry to interrupt you, carry on.
That's all right, mate. I had a look at the tyres come off Johnny Mackin's tyres car, which only just stopped in the last lap. They're almost slicks now, so the tread pattern's gone. I don't know how much longer they will last.
I'll tell you what, the Cunningham car's starting to look ugly.
And it's starting to chunk tyres. There was some tyre debris came away from the car, and it's now starting to move around. There's Van Gisbergen as Cunningham was going up over the top of the hill. Van Gisbergen making the approach. Spit it out, Jamie. Now 12.5, slowest lap for the last 6 for Cunningham. Van Gisbergen trying to clear the Oryx Commodore here, down into 1, and he's not going to be helpful. Van Gisbergen a 5.4, the gap's 9.5 seconds. Shane's got the arms going, 9.5 seconds. 9.5 seconds, 2 laps you would expect. I think it's Paul Manuel in the Oryx Commodore. He is on a slick tyre.
And he had a run-in with them in the previous race too.
Shane's trying to get a run down the inside under brakes. He's going to pick him off. Lost a little bit of time though. Oh, he's running in really deep to try and get by. So the checkered flag not too far away. We think a couple of laps. Last lap board not too far away. Van Gisbergen on the hunt for the clean sweep, but he's still in 3rd.
And it's Edgell, so he's not far away.
There's Edgell just up ahead, and Edgell was 3.5 seconds down on Mitch Cunningham.
Guys, we'll throw another spanner in the works here. There's an awful lot of controversy as to how many mechanics were over the line when they changed tyres for Van Gisbergen pit. The Timmy Edgell team are adamant that there was 5 people. Apparently they're just reviewing it now.
4.9 seconds is the gap. Van Gisbergen into 2nd. Cunningham just up ahead, 4.9 seconds. There's the gap. Cunningham now struggling on the wet tyre. Van Gisbergen is on the hunt. Sun's out. Just to conclude our day, the sun's back out at Pukekohe.
Well, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Van Gisbergen is going to pick him off. But we haven't heard the call from race control.
For the last lap board, it can't be far away, potentially this lap. But Van Gisbergen is closing in fast and turning the tables on what Cunningham and Waters did to Van Gisbergen and Evans at Taupo. A little bit of controversy, as Mark reported, about the number of team members out on the pit apron for the wheel change. Here's going to be the lead change. Van Gisbergen down the inside. New race leader again. Shane Van Gisbergen through to the front.
And now he can afford just to cruise.
Greg Murphy is in 4th, and just looking at the gap that he's got to Tim Edgell. Hasn't crossed the line yet, so Murphy in 4th. So it's Van Gisbergen, Cunningham, Edgell. Yeah, Greg's a fair way back.
Yeah, no, he's no threat to this guy here.
Pretty much a lap down, certainly no, not to Shane Van Gisbergen.
Shane showing a bit of animation in the cabin there just before.
Well, it's going to guarantee the Endurance Series win for Van Gisbergen and Evans, regardless, and a clean sweep for the weekend. And I think from memory, only Scott McLaughlin and Greg Murphy have done that previously. Greg Murphy's done it a couple of times, that domination the previous season. Last lap board is now out for Shane Van Gisbergen. 105.9. What a race of ups and downs for all of the teams. The weather thrown into the mix. A safety car. Pouring with rain, and now it's back sunny and dry at Pukekohe. Shane Van Gisbergen cruising to the win. Maybe a little bit of controversy, as we said, from Mark, with potential investigation about the number of crew members on the pit apron during that wheel change onto wets.
And if Mitch Cunningham can not deflate a tyre,
he's going to hold on to 2nd. Yeah, Murph,
yeah, he will.
Murph's about 25 seconds down on Tim Edgell. Angel's last lap was a 1:11.2, but take nothing away from Shane van Gisbergen. Fantastic result. Van Gisbergen and Evans take out the Endurance Series for the 14-15 BNT Super Tourer Championship. Ecstatic in the Smeg pit. What a dramatic race. There's Mitch Cunningham in second. Made some fantastic calls. Just came up a little bit short in the end, but still another great result in changeable conditions for the Robert Cunningham Construction Ford. With Cameron Waters, Andrew Waite there offering congratulations to his mate. Simon Evans, Tim Edgell, another podium for the weekend with Steve Owen. Shane van Gisbergen and Simon Evans, Endurance Series winners. Drakey, what a race.
Certainly threw the elements at us, and this is Pukekohe.
Wow. Unbelievable. Simon Evans, win number 7 in such a short time. Shane van Gisbergen, win number 11 in V8 Super Tourers. 7 race wins from 9 starts. And I tell you what, I reckon we might see some donuts from the Giz. Maybe not. He's in pit lane. A dramatic race. The changeable weather in Pukekohe strikes again just to spice things up. Who would have thought from being over a lap down that that was achievable? So a 10-second win for Evans and van Gisbergen. They take out the Endurance Series after 3 rounds of the BNT Super Tourers. Cunningham Waters, fantastic result there for second. Edgell and Owen likewise for third for the final podium. Murphy and Perkins on Murphy's send-off this weekend in fourth. Not quite enough ahead of Percat and Dominic Story. Manuel and Davies complete the top 6.